Okay, we're going to continue our series on our top bands, top 10 songs discussion. Mark and Mike. Um, this time around, we are going to focus on the band, the English band, Mostly Autumn. Mostly Autumn hails from York. Who we've been to York to see them, and we've seen them many, many, many times. Mike more than me. They've only been to the U.S. once, and I believe that was 2002. It was at some festival in New Jersey, which we actually have on DVD. Anyway, what we are going to focus on here is the first phase of Mostly Autumn. So, what that is, that's going to feature albums from 1999 to, I believe, 2009. It's going to start with For All We Shared, and it's going to finish up with Glass Shadows, which is Heather Findlay's last album. She is the main female lead vocalist in the band, along with Bryan Josh, who does the male vocals, who does the majority of the writing. Heather did some writing later in the years, but mostly this is the Bryan Josh is the brains behind most of this writing. So, like I said, we're going to focus on their first 10, 11 years, and there's more than enough to choose from, and I guess it's my turn to start out. Okay, so there's a lot to consider. There's a lot of songs with vocals that include both Bryan and Heather, which are very, very tempting to grab onto because they just have such magic. Although Heather does do great alone, Bryan, for someone who you could say maybe he's not a great singer, I still love his vocals. So, anyway, we are going to.
And I just want to add.
Oh yeah, yeah, go for it.
They kind of complement each other in their vocals, and when they trade off, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And a lot of my songs, they definitely have both of them, not necessarily going back and forth. It's no duet, but
Right.
it's
Yeah, it's kind of magical. I think
yeah.
their two voices kind of fit really well, and
I had a hell of a time with this list. I basically feel like my top 10 are just total gems. For me, I think they have more than 10 total gems, but for me, I picked these. So we're going to start out with Winter Mountain, which is one of my all time favorites. They have a very cool video that actually goes with that. Then you got Simple Ways, which has a lot of the Heather harmonies in there that are so fantastic. A great tune. Lots of feeling, lots of drama behind it. Just a great tune. Third song. These are, like I said, I don't have any albums associated with these right now. The third song is basically the iconic song that they're known for. Heroes Never Die. It's a 10-minute song that Bryan wrote about his father. Wonderful song. Great finish to it, and always a great live moment. I think they still play it to this day. I know they were playing it every concert. Okay, fourth song, Evergreen. This is this is Heather Findlay. This is all Heather Findlay. It is starts out very slow, builds and builds and builds, and then there's a real heavy section at the end, and gives her a chance to kind of freewheel on the vocals, and just an incredible song. Some great drumming going on with it. Just a fantastic song. Fifth song is basically song is nothing like it, but it's in the same vein as Evergreen. Carpe Diem, which starts out very, very slowly and builds, and just a wonderful, wonderful track. In my opinion, it's just one of their all-time greats. It's really hard to pinpoint their favorite, which the next song is probably my favorite, simply because of the trade-off vocals, the style, the drama, the great singing, and just the starts, the stops, the great, just Past the Clock, it's called. It's from the album Passengers. It's the finale in Passengers, and it's a 3-part song that really gives Heather and Bryan a chance to shine vocally. I really think they do. Kind of hard to say that, but it is probably my favorite song from the band. Next, another concert favorite, great tune, big Bryan Josh lead vocals, Spirit of Autumn Past. Love it. Seen it many times in concert. It's just a tremendous song. Then we're going to go to one of the songs featured on the album On Your Picture, the title track to The Last Bright Light. Another wonderful song that just builds and builds and builds, and just an incredible song. An all-time favorite for sure. Next is Boundless Ocean, another beautiful tune. Just another feel good. It just hits you. It's great vocals, great everything about it is just total Mostly Autumn. It's got that vintage Mostly Autumn sound, as does The Last Bright Light. It's hard to beat it. I love it. It's right there at the top. And then the last one is Storms Over Stillwater title track. Again, fantastic song. Some people call it their last great album, but anyway, it's great stuff. I love it. So there's my top 10. So, honorable mention. You got anything to offer on the top 10?
Not yet. I'll let you go ahead and finish
Okay. Honorable mention. Okay. So we're going to start out with an early tune. I believe it's from the first album, Porcupine Rain. A wonderful song. They do it great live. lots of intricate vocals, just a great song. Always have been a fan favorite. I love it live. We have it on one of the DVDs. It's just fantastic. Then I got Half the Mountain, which is another one of those songs that give the vintage, mostly autumn sound that everyone grew to love. That just a big favorite of mine. Now my next one, these are in no order. My next one is Silver Glass. Now that is from Heart Full of Sky. And that's a song written by Chris Johnson, who's been in and out of the band for years in a variety of roles. He's a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist. He sings lead vocals on this. Extremely high-pitched voice, but I think it's a great song, great drama, great feel, great power. It's an awesome song. Some may not like it, but I think most of the fans are pretty enamored with it. I like it a lot. Nowhere to Hide. Now the studio version, it's pretty good, but I prefer the live version. Still a great tune. It's Bryan on lead, and lots of good background vocals from Heather on that. Another big favorite. Going back to the Storms album, Black Rain. That album, top to bottom, is hard to beat. And another good hard rocker that has just a great intro. Same album, Ghosts in Dreamland. Then we go back. I'm all over the place here. From Passengers, Answer the Question, which has a great finish to it. A great Ian Jennings moment. Keyboard guy, love it. Then from Heart Full of Sky, Fading Colors, which is probably their last, if you want to call it, great song, in my opinion. Tearing at the Fairy Tale, which is from the last album we're featuring here. It's from Glass Shadows. I did have the title track to Glass Shadows. It got bumped. I left Tearing at the Fairy Tale in there. It's a wonderful tune from Bryan. Great stuff. The last two, Something in Between from Passengers. A great tune to lead off the album. Always liked it a lot. And then the last one from Storms is Out of the Green Sky, which is another opener, which I always loved a lot. You can't miss on anything on Storms. It's that good. So a lot of songs there. I probably went a little too far, but it was hard. It was hard because there was so much. The great stuff just is endless. So anyway, we're gonna turn it over to Mike. You're up, brother. Yep.
All right. Well, that was interesting. Kind of crazy how we think alike when it comes to music. Kind of everything you said is spot on to what I think. So I don't have a lot to add on some of that stuff.
Okay, well, add what you think.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It really is. We've got a lot of the same when it comes to year 20 or so. This was the first time. This was the 15th band we did. This is the first time I could not bring it down to 4 to 6, which was my goal, which was my rule. I had to break my rule. So
it was impossible.
I,
with these
I had
guys.
to. So from then on, I went to 8, and I'm probably going to go back and change to 8 on some of the other bands, but I could not get past 18. I just couldn't do it. So anyway, a lot of similarities, and I share in your views about everything you mentioned. So here's my top 10. And just a little background with them. I bought Spirit of Autumn Past in 02, 03, just because I heard of them. I listened to it. It didn't strike me. I put it away. I listened to it probably twice. I put it away, and it was probably a couple years later when I think you might have said something about them, and that's when I bought. Which album? Which
No.
DVD did I buy?
It wasn't me.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Okay.
No. What happened was, you got thousands of things to listen to. You put that thing away, and then you had read something about it. You bought Passengers.
The album Passengers. Okay.
And you brought it over here, and you said, "Listen to this," and you had the DVD.
Okay.
So we listened to Passengers, and we had the DVD from the New Jersey concert.
Really? Because I thought it was Story So Far is the DVD I bought.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, that struck me.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay,
because Story So Far is.
There's no. Okay, correct. I'm
is in
corrected.
London.
I'm corrected. Story So Far is from London. The Jersey concert was not recorded.
Right. Just some of it. There are a couple songs. From there.
Right, but it's not out there. But yeah, Story So Far and Passengers is what you got you going on.
Yeah, the V shows. Those were the two.
Then we
and I remember showing you those and going, you gotta check this out.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I remember playing those 2 DVDs for you.
And we got into them big. It was like, was it late 05,
05 is my guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of force feeding you those DVDs because it's like, this is kind of magical, and it took just a little bit to strike you, and once it did, it took off with both of us.
Yeah.
And we have seen them not only in London, not only in York. We went to Crewe, we went to Burnley, to see them because what an experience getting to meet the band members several times. Bryan was awesome.
Great point.
He was even beyond that. Tina and I went, and they locked us in afterwards in Southampton at the Brook, another city we saw him in. Bryan asked us to see him after the show. They locked the doors, and just the band and a few other people were there, and it was just magical sitting there having a beer with Bryan and just talking to him. And Mark and I met with Bryan a bunch of times, with Heather a bunch of times, with Anne Marie Helder a bunch of times.
You remember how we met her the first time? We couldn't get to her. We wanted to meet her, and we told somebody that we were talking to. He goes, "Oh yeah, I know Anne Marie," and we said, "We can't get to her. She's so busy." And you said to her, "Can you tell her the Americans want to meet her?" Because Bryan had announced that we got 2 guys from America here, and they clapped for us, and he kind of like...
I think, was that a Crewe? It was either Crewe or Burnley.
That was...
I think it was Crewe. Oh, was it?
Burnley.
Okay.
That was Burnley, because Crewe was Limelight.
Yeah.
That was a dumpier place.
Yeah.
So we got to meet Anne Marie at Burnley, and they were all incredible.
Those are just magical years.
We could talk about meeting these guys forever.
Yeah, from 05 to from 07 to 11, 06 for me, but it was just magic seeing them all the time. Anyway, we could talk about that for years.
Oh, we have.
Yeah, yeah. So my top 10 is from For All We Shared, Nowhere to Hide. And it's just a great song, and I've heard it so many times, and I just can't get burned out from that. From Spirit of Autumn Past, Evergreen. That's just a no-brainer. What an incredible song! You already described it. I feel exactly the same way. From the last bright light, title track, Last Bright Light, just an incredible song. Bryan, just great vocals from Bryan, I think. And also Half the Mountain from that same album.
Yeah.
Again, like you mentioned, Bryan's never been noted as the greatest singer. As a matter of fact, some people don't like his vocals, but I like him a lot, and he does a great job on Half the Mountain. From the same album, something you didn't mention, and I kind of knew that. I knew you weren't a huge fan of the song, but I've always loved it, and it's long, and the beginning is just...
I know where you're going with this.
Oh, I figured that.
And I purposely was going to tell you, I left it out purposely. What is it?
Mother Nature.
Oh, yeah.
You're not a fan.
I can't explain some of why I'm just not there. The repetitive nature of it has always kept me away from it.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really discussed it, but I never noticed you take interest in it.
I really felt like I don't have any. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I just think in mostly autumn circles, it was just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand.
I just thought it was overhyped.
I find that the vocals with Heather and Bryan together at the beginning just mesh just perfectly, and that's to me it's magic.
Yeah,
and that's why it made my top 10.
Yeah.
So.
I get it. I mean, I get.
Yeah.
I know it's special for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then moving to Passengers, the same as you, Simple Ways and Pass the Clock, just two gems.
Yep.
And I can't say enough for those two songs. They're just absolutely wonderful songs. Easy picks for my top 10.
Yeah, Simple Ways just kills it.
And I think my top 10 was pretty easy. It was cutting off to those last 8 that was really difficult. From Storms Over Still Waters.
Are these honorable mentions now?
No, we're still in the top 10. That's only 7 so far.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Again, easy. Carpe Diem and Storms Over Still Waters. Which I find it's kind of odd because I think they're very similar songs. They start out real slow with great vocals. Heather is just fantastic. Yeah. And then they kind of pick up towards the end and they get kind of instrumental at the end. And I don't know why he put those together, since they're so similar to me, why he put them together on the album, but to me, they're just easy top 10 picks. And then lastly, another song that you put in your honorable mention, but it really strikes me, is Tearing at the Fairy Tale. I just love that song. Bryan's vocals are just incredible.
Yeah. Tearing at the Fairy Tale is one of those... I just listened to that song this morning. And that's where I decided it's far... Well, I shouldn't say far better than Glass Shadows, but I liked it. It was far and away my favorite song on that album. And it was hard to bump something for me, but...
Yeah. And you mentioned Fading Colors being their last great song, but I think Tearing at the Fairy Tale is truly there. And it made the top 10. It was that it was that special to me. And
Yeah.
the honorable mentions are great songs, but for some reason I couldn't take Tearing at the Fairy Tale
Yeah.
out of my top 10. So
The honorable mentions were killer because they're all great.
anyway, I think of those top 10, you pretty much agree with everything except Mother Nature.
Yep.
And then my 8 honorable mentions again are in yours, are in your top ones. There's only one exception, and I'll just mention that when I get there. From For All We Shared, Porcupine Rain. What a great song. That's a song I wouldn't just say, I'm going to listen. What do I want to listen to from Mostly Autumn? Oh, yeah, Porcupine. I wouldn't never just pick that out, but
Yeah.
thinking about it, it's such a great song.
Yeah.
A great Heather vocals.
Oh, yeah.
And then Heroes Never Die didn't make my top 10. I've always loved that song. It's an incredible song. But it's certainly in my honorable mentions. It's certainly, and it's difficult to do 10 versus 8. From Spirit of Autumn Past Winter Mountain. I tried to eliminate that, but I couldn't, trying to get down to that 16. But that's when I said, enough's enough. I'm going with 8. The title track, Passengers. And Answer the Question. What a great rocker.
Yeah.
It's just a great.
To me, that finale is amazing.
Yeah.
Listen to that finale next time you listen to it. It's just so powerful, and they got that. I don't know if you want to call it a synth-tron running over the top of it, like the last minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when it
exactly.
really kicks in. Oh, it's
Yeah, I know
it's
what
just
you're talking about.
Wonderful.
And then my last 3 of my honorable mention, from Storms Over Still Waters. I got 2 of them actually. Ghosts in Dreamland. I think that was in yours.
Oh yeah.
Heather's vocals.
Oh.
She's almost at her best there. One of the top
Yeah.
few as far as her vocals
Yeah,
go.
that intro and then her voice
Yeah.
is just like soaring in that.
Yeah.
You just can't. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to play that right now.
Yeah, there's moments on some of their songs that are just
Yeah.
goosebumps, and I think that's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
them for me. Another song I couldn't get rid of, and I was like, boy, this is coming out of nowhere. But The End of the World is another great one with Heather's vocals and Bryan in there.
I agree. It's wonderful. I ran out of space.
Yeah, that's
I just kept. I was eliminating, adding, and it just at some point, some things just didn't make it.
And I always knew it, but Storms is always, it turned out to be just a brilliant album. And then lastly, from Heart Full of Sky, Fading Colors. I thought I might have heard that a little bit too often, but when I played it again, it's like, yeah, that definitely I have to mention that because it's such a great song.
It is, and I'll tell you one thing about Fading Colors. It reminds me of our trips to England, because every concert we saw in 07 and 09, I'm 95% sure. I know in 07 they started out the concert with.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it's like that moment where you're like, wow, here it is. That it starts out in the beginning. Yeah, exactly.
And you talk about
and it reminds me of a special time to where you think about it. How many Americans have seen them in concert?
Right, very few, I bet.
I'll bet you can. Maybe counting on one hand is a little much, but there ain't that many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There ain't that many.
Right. How fortunate we were to go to see him 3 times in 07 in 3 different cities, and that was incredible.
Yep.
3 or 4. I don't know if we went to
3.
the Brook. I guess it was
No,
09
we
when we went to
didn't.
the Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can't say much about them, and enough about them, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to revisit them, and again, like all these other bands, to realize, wow, these guys are incredible.
And the fact that they're basically unknown, and we sit there and we can't even. We think 40 songs isn't enough. There's that many great songs.
Yeah.
So, what everybody's missing out on is sad, and you can't. You know, people have their own taste. That's fine. You like something or you don't. Fine. But I'm telling you, and then to top everything off, to meet them, to hang with them, to have conversations with them about music, about England, about the United States, about everything, and you know, goofy things like Bryan Josh likes Elvis. I mean, hilarious. But anyway.
And he told me when I saw him, now I forget that when they locked us into the brook, he was talking about the movie Halloween, the Halloween series, that he just absolutely loves as far as scary movies go. So
Incredible.
I think was that filmed in Chicago, maybe.
I don't know.
I think he mentioned that or something.
know.
But anyway, that was one thing he mentioned off the cuff. So what great memories.
And they didn't know where St. Louis was.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in Fading Colors, they talk about Kansas.
Yeah,
and we never mentioned, we're right next to Kansas.
Yeah.
We told them 300 miles from Chicago.
Yeah, we had to tell a number of people that over the years.
Yeah, I know.
So.
All right, so you good? Wrap this up. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Like the video, make a comment. If you want to see us feature another band, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.